Very good.
Let's begin. So do you have any questions in Hoi An? Any topics to bring up?
I do, actually. The past while, like past number of weeks, Ajahn has been emphasizing citta, which we often forget about. We remember Jetasikas, we remember Lopa, we remember Dosa, but we tend to not pay as much attention to the fact that they arise together with citta, and it's, well, I guess this is my question. If Lopa, when Lopa arises, is it when citta arises at the same time as Lopa, it becomes Lopa Muna Citta. So do we think then of, I'm not doing this very well, do we, at that point, citta knows the object and Lopa knows the object as well. Is that right?
Both the citta and the Lopa experience the object,
Yes.
but in different ways.
Yes.
And of course, you might be wondering which appears, or whether it's citta that appears or Lopa that appears. Is that part of your question?
That's not where I was going, but it's a good question. That would depend on conditions entirely.
Yes.
Yes.
Would.
So
but they have to arise contemporaneously, don't they? Citta and the Jetasikas, as we know, they arise at the same time. They take the same object. They fall away at the same time.
Yes.
But they have different functions. So citta itself is not attached to the object, but Lopa is.
Lopa is. Citta knows the object, though. It experiences the object. So experiences. What let's talk about what experiences means, what it is.
Well, it just means that there's a relationship between object and experiencer of object. That's all.
The experiencer is the citta.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it wouldn't, the object can't be known. Well, the citta cannot arise without an object, right? And then the object cannot be the object without the citta experiencing it. So,
right. Yes, yes. So, yes. This came up, I may be confusing a discussion about the Thai. In Thai, they talk about jit rule,
yes.
rule, and uses the same word. And I guess I've thought about it in the same way. Citta experiences the object, as do the Jetasikas, in their own way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So the word experience is a general term to describe relationship between the Dhamma and its object.
Good.
So, for example, the moment of clinging to taste or visible object now that is experienced, the citta experiences the visible object or the taste just as it is, exactly as it is, but it doesn't understand anything about it. It just experiences it clearly just as it is.
Right.
The Lopa doesn't know anything, doesn't understand anything. It just clings to that object.
Yes. Yes.
So citta is the leader, the one that experiences it clearly. But the Lopa just clings, that's all, nothing else. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't think about it. It just clings to that object at that moment.
Right. I'm just thinking experiences it clearly.
It just means
More
experiences it exactly as it is.
Yeah, okay, whereas the others not quite so
The
exact.
others just perform their particular functions, clinging to it, attending to it, contacting it, pleasant feeling with regard to it. So they just perform their particular functions, but the citta experiences it just as it is. At the moment of seeing, it experiences the visible object that is seen just as it is, but it doesn't know in the sense of understand anything
Right,
about it.
right.
Yes, usually when we use know in English, it's referring to the function of understanding. So when you said the citta and the lobha know the object, then it can be confusing in English because immediately we think
That's
of
right, yeah.
understanding, but this is not understanding, it's just experiencing it
Yes,
as it is, clinging to it as it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes people ask about, for example, in the Satipatthana Sutta, when we read about the Lobha Mula Citta, the first citta that is referred to as the object of Satipatthana, no matter whether it's Lobha Mula Citta or Dosa Mula Citta or Moha Mula Citta or any kind of citta, is just the citta itself, which is the object of awareness and understanding. But it's tainted by the cetasikas that arise with it. So the citta with lobha is different from the citta with dosa, or the citta with moha, or the citta with panya, because it's tainted by the akusala cetasikas that arise with it. But still, the citta itself is the leader, the one that experiences the object.
as it is.
Almost as it is.
I think it's not wrong to equate experiencing and knowing, because that's what experiencing is, isn't it?
Yes,
It's a knowing in that sense, but it's not the same as the knowing of panya, which understands the characteristics. So that's why we in English we wouldn't use knowing to describe the experiencing, because of the possibility of confusing it with understanding.
well, and that's where I got confused once listening to some discussion in Thai. But it did get me thinking. For sure. Thank you, both of you.
Well, John may wish to add something to what you've said.
So now, เสียง echo อีกแล้วค่ะคุณเอ็ม something wrong with
We can't hear you clearly right now, John.
We're having Kun M and Jan, we're having exactly the same problem we had yesterday. It's breaking up, so we can't hear it clearly. Kun M, could you help if you're there?
can you hear me now? Still,
That's better.
Try again, Jan.
it's a problem คุณเอ็มดียังไม่ดี
That's
now
clear,
clearly.
John. That's clear.
is it clear
Yes.
That's better.
but I hear the echo all the time
Yes.
No echo here, Ajahn.
yes I know but the problem is in Bangkok so there คุณเอ็มเห็นไหมคะ
Không ngồi đây không?
alright คุณเอ็มนั่นแหละพอตอบปุ๊บ echo เลย
Ding Jiao Ha, how are you? Glad to see you.
ครับ
เวลา
ลอง
พูด
ดู
กับคุณเอ็มเนี่ยมันไม่มี
ครับ ตอนนี้ท่านอาจารย์ได้ยิน
ได้ยินคุณเอ็มแต่ลองพูดกับเขาซิต่อแล้วใช่ไหม
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
taste คุณซาลา
Yes,
Okay.
please try speaking again.
เขาไม่เห็นได้ยินเลยถ้าเสียง echo ของดิฉันก็ยัง echo อยู่ต่อไปอ่ะคุณเอ็มที่เมืองไทยมันเป็นยังไงฮะลองพูดกับเขาซิยังสะท้อนอยู่ไหม
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kunem.
Yes. Can you hear
Yes.
อาจารย์
Yes, I can.
I can hear her. We could
เสียง
hear
เบา
her
มาก
speaking very
เสียงเขา
clearly
เบา
in
มาก
Thai.
เวลาพูดกับคุณเอ็มเนี่ยไม่มีปัญหา แต่พอต่อเขาเนี่ยมันสะท้อนอะลองใหม่ก็ได้อ่ะ
There's a little bit of echo
Can you
coming.
hear me ต่อยังคะ
We can hear you clearly, Ajahn.
Can you hear me ต่อ
Yes.
ยังคุณเอ็มคุณเอ็มไม่ได้ยินละ
ต่อแล้วครับท่านอาจารย์ครับสักครู่ Can you hear อาจารย์ not คุณซาลา
Yes, we can hear her. We can hear her clearly when she's speaking to you.
โอเคเราได้ยิน
Shall we
แต่ท่านอา
try
จารย์ไม่ได้ยิน
again?
พอใช่ไหม
It's just the same problem we had yesterday. Morning, Leanne.
Morning, Sarah, and everyone.
For anyone who's just arrived, we've got a bit of a delay because Ajahn has some technical problems that she and Kun Warasak are trying to sort out. So we just
Oh, sorry. Jonathan, we have not been hearing you when we've been seeing you talking, so.
You mean since the trouble began?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I haven't had my microphone on. I've just maybe been talking to Sarah or something.
Okay, okay. Shouldn't interrupt them.
You haven't missed anything anyway.
Good to know.
I was just explaining to Sarah what Ajahn had been saying, that when she speaks to Kunim, no problem, but when she speaks to us, she gets the echo.
Yes.
Leanne, do you know Ha and Sao in Vietnam?
I heard of their name and I've met them during the Dhamma discussion online, but I never met them in person.
Oh,
Hi Ha and yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I haven't gotten changed yet. My mom hasn't been well until now. I mean, yeah, she's still very unwell. So haven't had much time to attend all the
are you
Dhamma.
in Sydney now or still in?
No, I'm still in Vietnam.
In Ho Chi Minh, yes.
No, I'm in far south at home in my hometown in Bạc Liêu. You probably never heard of. Yeah, it's far south in the countryside.
Hmm.
I'm sure your mother's very glad to have you with her anyway, have you visiting.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I made it home to care for them during this difficult time. Yeah.
Okay, Jan, please try again. So we're talking about Chitta, and would you like to try giving your comments again?
So now, can you hear me? The echo in my put
There's a little echo.
Yes.
Please
Okay.
continue and we'll see how it goes. Perhaps we'll continue and then Jan can join in when the problem is sorted. Yes. So, Leanne, the discussions we had in Bangkok about helping parents and coming back to understanding the Chitta now, is it helpful to you? She can't speak. Okay, I think we've lost Leanne. Any other topics to bring up from Hoyan? Or I just ask Ha, because Ha's English is a little weaker. Ha, do you have anything you would like to ask in English?
I'm wrong. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I know question now.
You can listen, yes.
Yes. I listen for learner listening.
ฟังไม่ได้เลยเสียงได้ชัดแต่พอเสียงเป็นเอ็กโคใหญ่เลยค่ะ
I think they're still trying to sort out the issue.
Last yours.
The sound that we're getting is still pretty bad over here. I have maybe we can start a comment. You know, we've been spending quite a little time with our grandkids. So I've been thinking a lot of Kanti patience and how to teach, I don't know, express the Dhamma to young children. So I'd love some ideas.
How about patience with husbands?
Kanti in general, patience.
What do you think, Jonathan?
I think it's time some people learned Just kidding.
You're in trouble now.
I think a good way to start with children, Bev, is by asking them questions, because if you just start trying to tell them, they switch off very, very quickly. But you can just start by asking them simple questions like, what is seen now? And maybe they will say the moon or the sun. And you can ask them, if you've never heard about the moon, would you know that it is the moon? Would you think of it is the moon? And then who is thinking about the moon? Is it you? Is it just asking simple little questions, making it like a game almost, just to help them consider a little bit when touching the water, when swimming in the water, what is touched? Is it water that is touched, or what is touched? Close your eyes, what is touched? So just helping them to consider, oh, maybe it's just coolness that is touched at that moment, helping them to understand a little more about realities in life. Is there really a Auntie Bev? What is the Auntie Bev, Grandma Bev? If nothing is seen, is there any Auntie Bev? If nothing is heard? So when you're fast asleep, is there any Auntie Bev? Or is it just when waking up and thinking about Grandma Bev? So I think it's a bit the same as with adults, but just in language they can follow, just simple little questions to help them consider and delve a little deeper. And they're so fortunate because you can ask the questions and know you've got the support of the family. It's much easier to help children when there is the support of the parents. So I think just asking little questions about life now. What is life now? What is touched now? What is heard now? And when thinking about the shark and thinking about the seagulls, is there really a shark? Are there really seagulls? If there's no thinking about them, are they there? Little questions. We can come back to it. Ajahn, please try again.
I'll try again now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sounds a little better so far. Please carry on. So maybe we'll come back to Anne's question and then come to Bev's afterwards. So I think you were just going to talk to Anne more about the citta.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's good, Ajahn. Carry on.
Better, yeah.
I see. So now it's time to consider what we used to say, citta, because no matter how much we talk about it, it's still so far away from understanding, even it's there now. Because the subtleties of reality, we just heard about it, and it's there even right now, but it's not known yet. That's why we begin to talk about it again and again and again. What appears at the moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. It's that which appears, but that which experiences has to be there each moment. Otherwise, what is not appearing cannot appear at all. Begin to consider that which is behind that which appears. There must be a reality experiences it, while what appears is visible object or sound. Because when they are not there, no seeing, no hearing at all. But at moment of sound appear, or visible object appears, there must be a reality which at that very moment experience it as it is. It is so very rapidly arising and falling away. So no time to think about that which experiences now, what is seen or appears or heard right now. That's why we begin to talk about it again and again, to condition the moment of beginning to attend to the characteristic of that, which is there from birth, experiencing whatever is there, no matter what, no matter through what doorway or no doorway at all. It's that which is there. But at moment when physical object appears, it does not appear. At moment of like or dislike appear, it does not appear. That which is a piece of experiences, the object for liking or attachment or aversion. No matter what is there in life, it's there all the time. Without it, nothing can appear at all. No word. That's why we begin to understand the truth. It's there hidden each moment, even right now. That's why the word about it can be conditioned to just think about it, that it's there. But its characteristic does not appear because no thought about it. Just keep on thinking around about it, but it's not yet the moment of beginning to attain little by little, getting closer and closer to the innermost of life. That's why we learn to understand what is meant by different degrees of understanding. When it's just the intellectual understanding about the truth, that it's there now, it's there all the time. It can condition moment of beginning to consider the moment, just even intellectually, before seeing, before what appears and appear right now, it's there already. But the object of experiencing is different by conditions. When there's no visible object imprinted on the eyeball, it still has the object from birth, arising and falling away, keep on experiencing only that object. But when time comes to experience the other object, it's there. The moment of what appears, it sees that object. It performs its function at the moment of birth, the piece of experiencing the object, no matter through the eye or the ear or the body, all depends on conditions. That's why beginning to attend naturally, unknowingly now, it conditions the moment of thinking about it more and more by conditions until it's time with patience, not to do anything, but to begin to understand by conditions, attending to the characteristics of that which experiences the object by conditions. That's why it takes quite a long time to be acquainted with that which is there, unknown, to be known, little by little. Gradually, there can be a little more understanding. So we come to the word again, that how can there be the understanding of the meaning of the word without understanding? It's impossible, no matter what word. For example, the application of Satipatthana, or it applies, what is that? Because the word is the word, but the understanding of the word, understand without thinking about the word by way of the meaning or grammar or perfect language and so on. But to begin to understand, it's not like what it's meant by application or apply, but what about it? Because it's there. When there's no word about it, it cannot have any understanding of the truth of it right now, that it sees or it hears or it thinks. So now, It's time to begin again and again and again to think that the reality which experiences the object cannot understand anything, but the understanding from hearing, considering that mind about the world. But without the word, it cannot be understood. That's why beginning to understand the word, which means the truth of what is there. For example, Chitta is a chief, it cannot understand. But another reality, hearing, considering what is there now, appearing, that they, what are there? Not just only one reality, but they are not known. It has to be only one moment of understanding a reality as it is. That's why understanding begins after consider what is heard carefully, but not enough at all, because it's just attending to the meaning about that which is there, not yet the moment of precisely understand what is there now, which we are talking about, until time comes to understand little by little that there is a reality at moment of what appears, and it's that which experiences with object. Understand the meaning of the experiencing, not just the word, but the reality which experiences, which knows, which condition that object to appear, because it experiences that. A little by little of understanding, condition the moment of getting closer a little bit to the truth of that which is there. That hasn't been appeared at all yet. But when time comes with patience and understanding from hearing, again, not just one time, again and again, until the attention begin to attend the characteristic on and on and on, until it's time to understand it directly, and that is patipatti. It understands directly the characteristic of that which is now there, unknown before. Only once is not enough. No matter how much moment in life, it's not enough, because ignorance and attachment and all kinds of kilesa have been developed or accumulated so much to hinder, to cover up the truth of what is there even right now, and just talk about it and get closer and closer to understand it. And that's why the understanding has different degrees. Now we are talking about the intellectual understanding will condition the moment of direct understanding, on and on and on, little by little, so gradually, until it is moment of realization the truth. See, vipassana, from what moment of understanding, little by little, and once it is vipassana, so very quickly, as rapidly as it's now, not enough at all. That's why there must be conditions for that moment to arise, experience, not just only one more, but many, many moments by conditions. And before it can be such like that level of understanding itself, by conditions, unexpectedly, only by conditions. Who can manage or who can do anything for it to arise again? Impossible. And that is the understanding of the truth, to be patient so much. No one can imagine how much ignorance and kilesa hindered all the time, until the understanding begins to understanding that without understanding what is there right now, it's impossible to let go. The wrong understanding and ignorance, even one heard a lot about this, but never enough at all. The condition is not as much as the accumulation of akusala. years and years and years ago. That's why the understanding gets stronger or firmer to understand that what is a noun or any time is anatta by conditions only until, think about until, how long will it be? It will naturally understand what is there in life little by little. And it knows that that is not enough. So do good deeds and know that without moment of kusala, there are moments of akusala all the time. That's why the understanding of the subtlety of reality right now, before it can be understood stage by stage until it appears again, not enough, again, not enough, until it becomes so very, very keen to understand what is there in daily life, common life, natural life, as it is. See how long will it take, but it has to be like this. Viriya Parami, Satya Parami, Kanti Parami, Nekama Parami, or Adidana Parami has to be there in order to let go attachment, which is so very tricky. And only Panya can understand how much is there in different form, which only Panya can see it, understanding it, how wisely it's hidden all the time in daily life. That's why there are many stages of understanding as Vipassana and Yata Parinya and Tirana Parinya in life. Before there can be a little more understanding, which only understanding itself, letting go by itself naturally as much as it developed. So now it's the development of right understanding of what is there from the very beginning, understanding how subtle it is, how long it will take time to be truthful to what is there by condition, no one better, because the clinging and wrong understanding, taking whatever is there as something or I, because no one there. So it's I, it's me who sees now. That's why, in order to understand the reality, which is the truth of experience and object right now, it's just like any reality, because even attachment is there. But it's taken from my attachment. And how many moments of attachment in a day? So how long? No one can imagine how long to let it go, little by little, so very gradually, secretly, deeply, subtly, see. But the firm confidence, condition, the moment of deep impatience, not to try, not to hope, but to just understand what is there, because it appears already by condition. It doesn't matter whether it arises and falls away how many moments. So what can appear naturally is only the nimitta of what is there, arising and falling away. So no one can imagine the truth, that it is just like that. This is the firm confidence of the truth, to let go. Even now we're talking about Citta, the chief of experiencing, even it does not appear, but it's the moment of beginning to understand. So each moment of understanding about truth right now, no matter by way of intellect understanding or direct understanding or vipassana jnana, it's not all the time, just very shortly and then gone. Until it's strong enough, firm enough, keen enough, wise enough. At the moment when it understands whatever is there, it's just a different moment, different reality by condition. And that is not yet enough to let go, because the ignorance and attachment is so enormous. Only Panya can understand. Without understanding what is that right now, naturally, by conditions, nothing can let go the idea of self or something. So we are talking about that which is there all the time. The experiencing begin to be object of attention, stability, by conditions. Otherwise, if we don't talk about it at all, how can there be a moment of understanding that is that right now experiencing what appears each moment in life? And it has to be understanding gradually by the 3 degrees of understanding, the pariyati, patipatti, and the pativeda. And this is the point of listening to the truth. Otherwise, ignorance cannot understand the truth of what is there now or any time at all. Can you hear me now?
Very clear, Jan. And just to give a little bit of context, Hung, you'll find this interesting because on Saturday, Nina asked actually the same question that you have asked about what is meant by applies when we talk about the parinyas after moments of vipassana jnana. And I think this is why Ajahn was just referring to it now, because often people may read or hear this word and they straight away think of something to do, but of course, nothing to be done because dhammas arise by conditions. And just now, Ajahn was referring to the Jnata Parinya, Kirana Parinya, Bahana Parinya. So after the first Vipassana Jnana, Nama Rupa Paricheda Jnana, the Jnata means what is known, Jnata Parinya applies or understands other realities according to the clear understanding that arose at moments of Vipassana Jnana. So it's an understanding of realities that wasn't understood so clearly before the Vipassana Jnana. So after the first Vipassana Jnana, we read about the Jnata Parinya, understanding other objects with deeper understanding than before. And the Kirana Parinya refers to the Parinya between the 2nd and 5th stages of Vipassana Jnana. So after the understanding of the conditioned nature of realities, the Tirana, which means tender, the Tirana Parinya understands other objects accordingly with the deeper understanding which was realized at that 2nd stage of insight and the following ones. But as Ajahn stressed, it's just for moments, like understanding now, and in between, still clinging and ignorance as usual, but gradually more and more wearing away of the idea of self. And then the Pahana Parinya is the Parinya. Pahana means overcoming, so it refers to the Parinya from after the 5th stage of insight, when there is the Bhanganyana, the understanding of the dissolution of realities and the fearfulness of realities and so on, up until enlightenment. So again, deeper and deeper understanding applied, or understanding other realities more and more firmly and clearly. And this is all Pativeda. So when we're talking about Vipassana Jnana, we're talking about Pativeda, understanding stronger and clearer than moments of satipatthana before vipassana jnana has been realized.
Thank you, Sarah. A little bit, yes.
So it's
And I was just going to say, and we read about Kanti Jnana. So Tom and Bev were asking about the patience, the Kanti, when helping with the grandchildren, but it's nothing to the great Kanti that has to be developed as understanding develops stronger and stronger, firmer and firmer, to eventually eradicate the idea of self, to be patient with whatever is conditioned at this moment, the Kanti Jnana. Sorry, carry on, Ajahn.
So it doesn't matter when we have the understanding of the truth, whether it is the development or developing it and so on. It's the moment of understanding little by little, to understand no matter what is there, any time, say, how long will it take to understand right now as it is, as by conditions. Otherwise, it's not right understanding firm or strong enough to let go of the idea of self. But it has to be the daily life conditioned, different realities, where there is still no understanding of what is there yet. But it develops each moment. And when it's keen enough, experience correctly, truthfully, what is there as it is, that is still not enough, as long as it's not as now, daily life. So one can understand the property of panya, which can understand what is there now, which hasn't been experienced and understood at all yet. But one day, the developing of panya, the developing panya is there from moment of understanding. That's why the point of talking about the truth, discussing on the truth of it, conditioned right understanding of no matter what kind of different realities from day to day appearing. So no matter what word is used, the way it is, it in order to understand what is there, it needs long time to understand it, develop it, until the understanding of the truth grows little by little, until it's so strong when it appears as it is. Different stages of understanding. Without Tirana Parinya, after Yata Parinya, experience the truth at level of Vipassana Jnana, how can there be the understanding of the truth which has been once arose and fall away, that it's exactly of what is there now. But there are conditions for lopa and ignorance to arise so much in a day. That's why all depends on conditions. And that is Viriya Parami and Kanti Parami, no matter we use any word. Whether we use the word Parami or not use it, it's there. Without it, without each moment of understanding, it just cannot develop to higher understanding. As we have heard about it, different degrees of right understanding. So now, when it's not Vipassana Jnana, it's understand the difference between Pariyatti, Patipatti, and Vipassana Jnana. To condition Viriya and Kanti and Adidana, now developing gradually, no matter what word we use.
Ajahn, I don't know if Bev is still there. Are you there, Bev? Bev and Tom, when you were having technical problems, were asking about, well, they were mentioning about Kanti and also asking for suggestions on how to help their grandchildren with the Dharma. Bev, would you like to add a little more?
Bev's off
Oh,
to bed.
Okay, Tom, you can be her spokesperson. Yes.
Cool. That's scary. Yeah, I'm not sure I could do it justice. She had something in her that I didn't really know where she was going. So I am going to, I think it's always interesting when you're dealing with a 6 and 9-year-old children. But I don't know where she was going with it. Sorry.
I think at that age, they can understand the difference between doing, Tom's gone. I was going to say the difference between doing something for them purely for themselves and having consideration for the other person. But it's also perhaps easier for a kid to see that in a sibling, for example, than in themselves to start with. So where there are siblings, then perhaps that would be possible to point out to one when the other is doing something impatiently, and get the idea across in that way.
Is it Dhamma each moment? At moment of thinking, of going somewhere, there must be chanda, interest to go there. That's why no matter what one is doing or going, there must be chanda of that moment to do, but it hasn't done yet. That's why chanda can be chantikapata, only when there is the understanding of the truth to realize the truth. But when it's not yet that degree, it is moment of having chanda at any moment of thinking to do something which has been done yet. So it needs virya, not just sit, not doing anything, but the moment of virya, it conditioned moment of doing, trying to do what we want to do, like to go and then go. And it needs virya. And chitta still there, thinking of going, never stop. Otherwise, one cannot reach the goal or the place that one is going to be there. And along the way, it has to be moment of understanding what is there, whether it's the way to reach or it's the wrong way and so on. That's why we begin to understand what is there in a moment. Otherwise, it's I all the time. I plan to do without chanda. See, why it's just planning to do only that, only such object, the place or whatever is there. And without virya, you cannot treat what we are thinking to do at all or to go. And chitta still on thinking about it in order to do and to go along. When it stops thinking about it, it does not do as one planned to do. And right understanding has to be there. How to go, where to go, and so on. And this is what is there in life, each moment, unknown, until there is the understanding of the truth. What is there, uncontrollable by conditions. Why only to this place, not the other place, and so on. All Dhamma. So we learn to understand the truth of life. What is there as no I, no one at all. But what is there when it's not known as it is? The nimitta of what is there as something, someplace, somewhere, someone, conditioned different kinds of thinking all the time. Otherwise, how can there be the thought without seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching? Begin to understand what is meant by Dhamma, the reality at that moment. But what is it? No one there at all. Sanda is Sanda, Viriya is Viriya, Citta is Citta, and right understanding is right understanding. They have their own characteristics to be known as it's that reality which arises and performs its function all the time, from birth to death, and then no more. No memory about what has been in past lives, the deeds, the speech, the situation, and so on. Because this is the next life, a past life. And this will be the past life or the future life. Exactly the same. All Dhamma, conditioned to arise, to be such and such, to the end of that life and continue on by condition. All are Dhamma, and all Dhamma are anatta. Seeing, it arises to see and then gone. No one. It's gone, never to arise again. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Just understand the truth. Nothing to be done. Only consider the truth, whether it's true or not, and have confidence of the truth, because the truth cannot be changed. Is it true? Just begin to understand the truth of this moment. Not anyone, not anything, only reality, conditioned to arise, to experience in order, in a process by process, go on. And on, until no conditions for whatever to arise, never arise at all. Absolutely. This life is what is known from birth, but last life is forgotten, and next life hasn't come yet. But new life, new story, new people, or new life, unexpectedly, beyond expectation, what will be, even from this moment on. Just learn about the truth. As the unpleasant feeling is useless. See, no use at all to feel bad or to have unpleasant feelings, to cry. So it's the same as when one laughs, enjoy what is there as something, but in truth it's not there. No matter the crying or the laughing or the thinking or whatever it's there, just in a moment and then gone. It's there. It seems like it's there. Only in this life.
This time we could see Hung and Anne talking. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to bring up. We could also see Tan talking to Meta the dog, but we won't ask her what she was saying. But anything you want to bring up, Hung?
Yes, back to Sarah, back to the topic we discussed last week about the sasankarika and asankarika, prompt and unprompted chitta. So as I learned that is chitta is experience the object very well, and when you say chitta is prompted or unprompted, it's not. If you consider that it's not because of the chitta, and it's because of Cetasikas accompany with it, like Loba and Dosa. And in the whole Samchita is because of Sati and Panya. Is it correct? Can you elaborate more about this? Thank you.
I think it's like we gave an example when tasting the food. There may not be much loba, but someone encourages us to taste it. And even though we don't really want to, but still there is the tasting. So chitta at that moment tastes the object, experiences it just exactly as it is. But the loba accompanying it is weak and it conditions the chitta. So the chitta is arising with that weak loba. So it's different from the chitta, which is arising with strong loba when even though we're full, we can't resist eating it. And there's strong chanda at that moment, strong loba, strong virya, and so on. And the loba itself is strong. So in that case, they are all asankarika, no prompting at all, just experiencing that object in a different way than when it's very half-hearted. But still, the chitta is the leader and it's still tasting the object exactly as it is at that moment. But perhaps Ajahn would like to add more.
We talk about it just to understand it when it's there, or just to know about it. So what is more precious? To understand what it is now as it is, before it can be known of whether it's prompted or unprompted.
This for better understanding, Ajahn.
No matter how long we talk about it, without the understanding of what is there now, as that which experience the object, before it can be known about the weak or the strong moment of that with or without dynamita and so on. That's why it's just dreaming about the story to be known, while the truth is there now. It's not known at all yet. So can it be known? The prompted chitta and the unprompted chitta. That's why the understanding keeps on, waiting on. No development of understanding a little more at all.
I think even now there's no tasting, but even now while listening or thinking about what is said, sometimes there's strong interest and understanding of what is said. Other times it's kind of like lazy listening. It's just there in the background, just a little bit of interest, maybe a little bit of boredom at some moments or some attachment at others, or just a little understanding. So different moments, even following so very quickly, even now, like Tom may be feeling sleepy, still listening, but not with the same interest or attention as at the beginning of the discussion. So we can tell even now, different moments by conditions, and no one knows what the next one will be, how much interest, how much understanding, how much attachment will be there. So it's just daily life.
Yes, I think the weak or strong is not difficult to grasp as in the instances you gave. I think what is more difficult to grasp is the fact that there are two different chittas. One is prompted and the other is unprompted. And that's what is a little bit perplexing, because weak or strong doesn't seem to mean a different kind of citta on its own.
So John is mentioned about the different kind of chitta. It means that it's a different kind of level of the. It doesn't mean that it's a level of the experience the object clearly or not clearly. It's about chitta or characteristics of chitta or other mental factors.
Well, if you look at the classification of the kinds of jittas, the eight kinds of with attachment or without, with what are they? Kusala, is it?
Well, 8 kinds of tension, 4 self-encounter, 4 awesome.
Yeah. Or are prompted, 4 are unprompted. But right. One other variable is the feeling, either pleasant or unpleasant, or neutral feeling. So that's a distinct difference, isn't it? Pleasant feeling from unpleasant feeling. Whereas prompted and unprompted, weak or strong doesn't seem to be.
Yeah.
Seems just a level of on the same spectrum, but just a difference in intensity. So what was your question, Han?
It means that it's still unclear about the unprompted and prompted. Is aspect of the chitta, or it's mentioned about the others mental factors.
Yes, I understood that question. I don't know the answer, but I agree. It sounds like it refers more to the mental factors than the chitta itself, but I couldn't say. Right, the different kinds of chitta that I had in mind, the 8 types of loba-mula chitta, for example, with or without pleasant feeling, indifferent feeling, pleasant feeling or a different feeling, with wrong view or without wrong view, prompted or unprompted. So that's what gives the 8 types of loba-mula chitta. Now, why the degree of strength should give a different type of chitta, I can see that whether or not it's with wrong view is clearly a different kind of chitta, with wrong view, without wrong view. And I can see that pleasant feeling and indifferent feeling are different kinds of feeling. But prompted or unprompted, it's difficult to see that there's a distinct line to be drawn somewhere between what is prompted and what is unprompted. I don't know.
I'd like to make a comment on the jittas. Aren't all jittas the same? They just arise, experience, and then fall away. And it's the jitta seekers that accompany jittas that make them gusala or agusala, or maybe prompted, unprompted. Because this came up years ago, I think, about chitta just being pabasaram, pure, or something like that.
Pandara.
Pandara. And it's just jitta seekers that colour it up. But I don't know, like you said, when that arises, when that jitta arises, say unprompted, does it change the jitta? I don't know either. I just remember it being pandara. So I don't know if that's helpful, but just a thought.
Well, I think that's Hung's question, isn't it, Hung? What Azita said is really the question you're asking, whether it's depends on the mental factors rather than the chitta itself.
Yeah. Like if you consider about the wholesome chitta, as a moment of wholesome chitta is if it's mentioned also about the prompted or unprompted, right? So it's like it depends on the sati or panya. It's the level of sati or panya is accompanied with chitta, or it's just it's not the chitta itself, right? It depends on the level, different level of sati or panya is accompanied or not. Is it right?
Work out the definitions, but what about understanding now? What about understanding the different kinds of lobha when they arise now, or the different kinds of panya when it's very weak, prompted by our friends who've encouraged us to calm, or when it's stronger with strong interest. So I think it's just daily life.
Yes, I have another little comment, seeing as how we were talking about children before. It's like, you finished a meal, one child might get up and take its plate to the sink, but the other one, you might have to prompt it to get up and do something. So maybe, that's all I need to say. Just I thought of children.
Lazy to help, lazy for kusala. And it's the same for us. Sometimes, we finish the meal and we're sluggish or slow to get up and clean everything away and help the others. And sometimes it's very quick to help and considerate for the others around. So different moments.
Yep.
No matter what it is called, it's daily life. And on the comments about helping the children, I mean, one can help children to be kind and good and this, but what is most precious is to help them to understand what is Dhamma, so this is why I was mentioning to Bev, one can just ask about what life is now, like at the moment of tasting. Is there tasting of the mango, or is it just the taste and then so quickly the thinking about the delicious mango that has just been tasted, a story about what has been tasted, and the same with the sound now, like so quick to be annoyed about certain loud noises, but actually it's just sound. So even children can begin to understand the difference between sound and that is heard, and thinking about sound, beginning to understand just a little bit about different realities, to very slowly begin to wear away the idea of someone and something. So I think it has to begin with understanding of what is the reality at this moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. You should talk about tasting, because before this discussion, I was listening to something, and Artan was describing how she was talking with a friend, and they were discussing certain things while the child was playing with something. And then they sat down to eat, and she asked the child, or just mentioned, she mentioned tasting. Are you tasting now? Is there taste now? And I thought, but she's brought it right back to now, and that's what you mentioned about tasting, seeing. So yeah, they're handy, because I'll be seeing my grandkids over Christmas, so I want some little ideas to what to talk to them about.
And this is the study of Dhamma, the understanding of the attachment now, the tasting when there is tasting, the seeing at this moment. Otherwise, it is just a theoretical book study. In one of the discussions yesterday, I think it was the Vietnamese one, someone had said the week before that one reason they wanted to be a monk is to have more time for study of Dhamma. But the study has to be at this very moment, while tasting, while seeing, while getting annoyed, while there's a clinging to the taste, because this is Dhamma. So that's why when helping children or elderly people or sick people or anyone, what is most helpful is to come back to understanding what is real at this very moment.
Yes, I was listening to some of that discussion on YouTube because I can't get into the Vietnamese Zoom. And I heard that section of the discussion, and, you know, going off to be a monk. And there was many good questions. Why would you do that? And then, the way the monks live these days is not according to the Vinaya. So it's rather pointless. And of course, when it comes back to here and now, that just, I could say it grounds me. That's the only expression I've got, but it just brings everything back to this moment. You know, not rushing off to do a retreat or worrying about whatever. Yes, this very moment, that's all there is, in fact, because, you know, realities are arising and falling away. And, well, yeah. So this moment is the most precious moment. Getting to know this moment is the most precious bit of information I think I've ever learned.
One of our friends in the old days mentioned to me that his reason for becoming a monk was also because he thought more time for study, more time for practice, for learning Pali, for learning Thai, for studying the text, for having quiet time without all the distractions we have. But then over time, he appreciated that this is the wrong understanding, because it's not the understanding of what is true study of Dhamma, which has to be at this moment, no matter the place or the lifestyle. It has to be seeing is seeing, hearing is hearing. It doesn't matter whether one knows all the Pali terms or speaks this or that language, but what about the understanding right now of the reality as not self, nothing to be done, no one to do anything at all.
And there may be that, you know, you may have studied the text and know it off by heart almost, but there's no developing understanding. So, yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tom.
So this postponing of studying Dhamma to another time, another place, is similar to going to retreats. In the end, it's just the same. It comes from the wrong understanding. Just the same way.
It's still the idea of I needing to do something, needing to change the situation, needing to get away from disturbances or distractions and doing something. Yes.
Yes, I think it was really helpful, and I liked it yesterday when Ajahn kept asking why one should wear the robe.
The white robe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to appreciate what we are sharing here, right? Because some of our friends, when they hear about these words, so they have feeling that we are so attachment to our daily life like now. So that's why we always to say by this way. They deeply they still think that thinking about a monk life is a good, is very bad, is better.
They think there will be less attachment if one is wearing the monk's robe or the white robe of the sisters, but they are still looking and judging by the outer appearance, not understanding the nature of chitta even now. What about the attachment now? What about the attachment when one's wearing a white dress or a brown robe? And in the temple, the seeing is seeing, the hearing is hearing, the attachment comes in instantly. But as you say, it's difficult to share.
And also, I think there's a tendency to put bodily conduct, the good life, the well-lived life of the monk above the understanding. Or there's the idea that the good bodily conduct will support, will be conducive to more understanding. Because if their concern was just the development of understanding, there wouldn't be all this thinking about whether it's better to be a monk or a lay person. And that's what it comes down to. They have the idea that it's better to be a monk than a lay person for reasons of sila. Instead of thinking about the essence of the teaching is the understanding of what is appearing at the present moment. And their appreciation of that may be quite weak or even misguided. So that's the discussion is actually about what is the development of understanding, the development of the path taught by the Buddha, because that's what they are proclaiming to be interested in, because becoming a monk or a nun is a step towards the development of that understanding in their eyes.
Maybe at that moment they have a doubt about the way of learning and learning the reality right now.
I think so.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so that's why the conversation is not really about becoming a monk or staying a lay person, but it's about what is the development of the path taught by the Buddha. So when we answer as we do, that's what we're talking about, rather than whether it's better to be a monk or a lay person.
And that's why no matter whether one's talking to a child or an elderly person or a sick person or here or there has to be the helping the other to appreciate what is true, what is to be understood now, because it's only when there is more understanding of the seeing now, what is seen now, the realities that make up daily life now, that there can be the appreciation that no one can do anything, no one can go anywhere, no one can make understanding happen by changing the lifestyle or the situation, and the seeing is just the same. As a lay person or a monk, the hearing is just the same. So, but without the understanding and confidence in it developing, one will always think of another way, a kind of practice, something to be done.
I think that's key. There's something to be done. There's this strong desire to do something, and I think it's eons back. We do things. We do things.
And I think also, Ajahn keeps asking the question about why do they want to wear the white robe? It's something about being in a uniform, because we know that, when we see a group of people in uniform, and whether they might be military or police or whatever, they seem to have good bodily conduct as a group, when they're performing going about the rituals of whatever group they belong to. But we know that the mental states are vastly and are not related to the way that they appear to behave in that uniform. And it is about, there's a certain wanting to be seen as someone who, is of that kind of person, calm, not greedy, patient, learned. That all comes with the wearing of that particular kind of uniform.
And one may get used to the respect, the generosity from lay people and being in a special situation. So without understanding, everything can go wrong.
There's a little piece in the book about Nina's translation of the Perfections about the Buddha not wearing the robes, not getting into a situation where he was given special treatment and highly regarded, etc. That's interesting. He didn't want that. Bring attention to himself and what he was doing.
Sorry, but I'm not clear on. Is this as the Buddha or as the Bodhisattva?
As the Bodhisattva. It must
be
as
the Bodhisattva.
Yes. I'm sorry, it has to be as the Bodhisattva.
Maybe one of our friends, she doesn't have the intention to make the attractive others to her appearance or the uniform, but I think maybe she thinks that the lay person sitting together and talking about the reality is still something is normal. It's not something special, and she still so appreciate the way of living of the monk.
Sorry, could you just repeat that? She appreciates the way of living because of the way they discuss about realities.
I'd like she thinks the Aryan life very special and something she's really appreciate and pay respect this kind of living, right?
Superficially, it can be similar.
Yeah, right.
But again, it depends on the mental state, doesn't it?
Yeah. She doesn't appreciate the value of discussing and understanding about what life is at this moment, the reality of seeing now, hearing now. She's more concerned about her idea of purity and lifestyle, but not really interested enough to study and understand what Dhamma is and how in truth no one who is here, no one that becomes a nun or a monk, just different Dhammas arising and falling away. And this is the heart of the Buddha's teachings. So it depends on whether there's enough careful considering, and who knows, maybe gradually there will be. We're just about out of time. So Jan, would you like to add anything more?
Just a small comments that the
time now. So swaddy everyone.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ
กลับแล้วท่านอาจารย์ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
Tom, do you want to make your comment?
Thank you everyone Thank you อาจารย์
I just meant to say that the attachment to the outer appearances and circumstances can take many forms. Even like might have the idea that it's better to be in the discussion, or it's better to have many discussions in a week or something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Being is so crafty. Jan gives the example of when she started teaching and she started wearing just black and white. And then the next thing is all the listeners started wearing the same. And then she realized it's not the right way. So she started wearing colorful clothes, but there can be attachment to white, there can be attachment to black, there can be attachment to anything, this or that situation. I agree.
There can be attachment to coming to the discussions.
Yes. Attachment to being with one's friends in the discussion. Yes. Anyway, thanks for joining us in Hoi An and everywhere, everyone. See you all next time. Have a good trip back to Bangkok, Anne.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well done, Tom.
Thank
Tom.
you.
You.